grounded, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Monday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. Man, it feels like we're doing the show at night with how dark it got.
Weird.
I haven't looked at the radar since like 4:45 this morning when my weather app went off, and I thought, you got to be kidding me.
What was it for?
Special weather, so like strong, and also severe thunderstorm watch, which lasted about 10 minutes and then got canceled.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday morning, so I got here about 6:30 because of the severe thunderstorm that was out at Shamrock, which I bet it dumped a bunch of rain out there.
There was, I
knew there was a flood warning at one point. I mean,
yeah.
it was just about stationary for about 45 minutes. Until it dipped below the severe level. But anyhow, so I was here from like 6:30 to about 7:30. And I got home, and I was just about to start getting ready for church at like 8:30, and severe thunderstorm. That one had kind of moved across the state line. And it was like Eric, Mangum, Vinson kind of out in that area. I thought, okay, well. So I jumped back in the car, drove up here. And as I was giving the first report, finding the bulletin, you know,
right,
I found the one that said canceled. So it lasted for about 10 minutes. I didn't notice it canceled before I got here. So anyway, yeah, it was
how it works.
Bunch of rain all across, and it looks like there's more right now.
I don't think anybody's complaining about all that rain.
I don't either.
No,
I think
I know
until
my
about
lawn's
noon.
not, man. I need to get on the mower.
Well, that's the only problem I've got with what's going on is. It's so wet. I was going to mow yesterday.
Right.
But you just couldn't. There's water standing in the yard. It's hard to mow. But anyway, on the show today, NBA Finals, NHL Finals are both set. What's the best storyline of the two?
I could think of two storylines in the hockey.
Hang on a minute. That's what a brand new superstar for Edmonton. I've got it on the list.
Oh, okay.
Or superstars, maybe.
I haven't even opened the list yet. I haven't gotten.
Oh, yeah. I've already got that on there. There's a brand new superstar in Edmonton. It has nothing to do with the ice. If anybody saw what we're talking about. Connor McDavid. Is he kind of the Mike Trout of hockey in that he's an all-time one of the most talented dudes ever, and nobody knows who he is, maybe until now, as Edmonton has made their way into the NHL Finals. Have you seen the college football FPI yet? Released by ESPN?
No.
All right, so it's like the computer-generated models of the season. They run like thousands of different variations or what have you.
Okay.
And then they start ranking teams and base like percentages to make the playoffs, percentages like their FPI score. It's almost like WAR in baseball, like wins above replacement. Mm-hmm. So the FPI score is how much better is a certain team than, say, just your average college football team. And though they take that, then they start running the projections to get wins, to get your chance to win the playoff or to make the playoff, chance to be in the or to win the championship. And there's a bunch of other scenarios there too. So we can look at that. There's some pretty big differences in what the FPI spit out from what you see in the human polls. One very notable one right here in this state that is way higher, according to the FPI, than what a lot of the people think. There's some teams that are way lower than what the people think. And another team, it's just maybe we're too close to it. Maybe I'm too close to it. Maybe. But when you look at the top 20 in the FPI, Oklahoma State does not show up. And that baffles me with the season they had last year, what they've got coming back, And then, of course, the two teams that left. I mean, the Florida Gators are number 20 in the FPI. Oklahoma State's nowhere to be found.
Don't agree with that one, no.
Only one Big 12 team in the top 20 of the FPI. You know, we can kind of study that and look at it. Then also the other college sports right off the top, College World Series. Women's College World Series has reached the semifinal round coming up today. I'll tell you who's there, who's not there. Baseball regionals, a couple of win-or-go-home games in this state of Oklahoma today. Shocker around the country with the Hogs eliminated on their home field.
Vanderbilt's done.
Vanderbilt, yeah.
I don't know how good they were this year. Honestly,
not great, obviously.
But still, it's Vanderbilt. You think Vanderbilt, the one
Q.
sport they're good at is baseball.
Yeah, you don't see 2 and Q coming from Vanderbilt very often. Arizona's bowed out as a seed. So both OU and OSU kind of hope that maybe one of them might host a super regional if they were able to make it through. That's not going to happen. Clemson's already through on the OSU side, and also Florida State through on the OU side. So both teams, if they win today, would go on the road. So we'll talk a lot about that. And then also a couple of young fellas from Western Oklahoma were named to their respective All-American teams on the golf course over the weekend as well. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. That is 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. Talk about any of those things. Whatever else might be on your mind, feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, stay in touch with the show a couple of ways. Log on to kadsam.com or download the app. The Paragon app, is free, and it's got it all. It's got radio. It's got the Penny News. Brand new edition of the Penny News will hit the website on Tuesday night at midnight. Of course, you go pick up a copy of this week's Penny News right now at your favorite local newsstand, and then Big Elk and Paragon TV. When we've got high school sports, we'll be there with those two live streaming platforms. Hello, Jared.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good.
How was your weekend? Spent a lot of time on the turf?
Yes, I did. It wasn't not a lot of time. I mean, we got some games in, got them done, and walked away with the title again. The 10U girls got the title this week. So very proud of them. Very proud of all the kids out there this weekend. Congrats to Cheyenne, finishing runner-up and qualifying for state. I'm going off the top of my head here. I know the Rumble Ponies, Elk City Rumble Ponies did. I'm going to need some help with the fourth team. I believe it was Eric. Yes. So Canute, Elk City Rumble Ponies, Cheyenne Spikes, and the Eric Lady Bearcats. All out here in the Kids Inc. qualifying for the OK Kids State Tournament. So congratulations to them, all them teams. And we had no weather delay. I was kind of holding my breath on all that. It all rained at the appropriate time, so it didn't have a weather delay.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
Did you play yesterday?
Yeah.
But it was already through by
first
the time.
Game was our game wasn't at 1, but the first game of the day was at 1 o'clock.
Oh, yeah,
it was fine and dry by then. So got all that done. Also, need to give a shout out. Been asked by a mom who's pretty proud. The Canute T-ball team came in runner-up, and they're playing for it. I know Dakota Miller.
Dakota's team won.
His team won it all. Congratulations. Now they're from Sayre, right?
Yeah.
Sayre Canes, I think is their name.
That's right. Yep.
They took that title, but Canute T-ball got the runner-up on that one. So
when is state?
That would be. Let me pop up the calendar because it's moved up a week this year. The 20th. It is the 20th through the 23rd.
So 2 weeks from.
A couple weeks. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of proud people in Canute right now with the 8U taking league title, 10U and 12U took it. And, of course, T-ball just mentioned. It's there's a lot of – we were all kind of buzzing last night after the 10U wrapped it up. Like, man, look at what just happened. That was pretty cool. So they're all qualifying for state. I don't believe there's a T-ball state tournament. Is there?
There is in baseball.
Is there really? I don't know if there is for softball. If there is, I'm sure they'll go. But it's it was a pretty good weekend. How was your weekend?
Let's see. Not near as eventful. What happened Saturday? I'm kind of
Did you
messed
get that
around.
Pool cleaned up? I never heard if you
Pool
did.
is clean.
Ready to go?
It's ready. Yeah, it was already
Already occupied?
Yeah. We were in there last weekend, and then a little bit of rain, people moving around. But anyhow, we got it back clean. It's getting cleaner. It's getting cleaned. We went to Woodward on Saturday evening for a wedding. And then yesterday, my wife just worked me to the bone around the yard. I did. We couldn't mow because it was just way too wet.
Yeah.
But I edged. You know, I think I may have. You told me about the weed eater you have.
Yeah.
I think I may have the exact same one. It's got the little roller thing that you can use to edge.
The attachments?
Nah, it just came with it.
It came with it.
This thing was on the little wheel, was on the back side or the top side of the grass deflector thingy. So you just flip it over and roll it right down the sidewalk. Oh, man.
It saves your back, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah. It's fantastic. So I did the weed eating, and then we've got a bunch of shrubs or bushes or whatever you want to call them around the outside of our fence in the backyard. And it was trim those time.
Yeah.
So I found a bunch of different scrapes and nicks on my hands and arms that I didn't realize I had until I got in the shower this morning. I was like, it kind of burns.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of that cleaned up before the weekend. Of course, oil and gas is this weekend. We got people coming to stay, and so
well, good.
Got that all got it all cleaned up, and most of it cleaned up and ready to go.
And we're program note definitely going to be out there Friday morning.
We haven't decided. I mean, I want to. We haven't exactly got that.
I need to remind myself how to do that remote stuff, so let me know so I can practice.
I'm planning on it. I've actually got a couple of people that want to come on with us.
Well, it's only an hour show.
I know. Scott, definitely on. Probably get Susie, and then a couple of special guests that I think we can probably just
get the mute button ready for.
Well, maybe that too, but just hand over the headset, because these two people, one of them is the most optimistic Oklahoma State fan you will ever meet.
Okay.
And the other one is the most pessimistic Oklahoma State fan you could ever meet.
Oh, all right.
And it'd be fun to see them, the yin and the yang of the OSU fandom, go back and forth. With the liquid courage they had on Friday, they were all for it. We'll see. We'll see what really happens.
Okay.
We'll see if
Thank goodness our show is in the morning.
We'll see.
So that's not
what
thing.
happens. We'll see if they really step up to the plate.
I hate to program the show for you, but tomorrow, aren't we?
Yes, I was going to get to that at the very end.
Okay, sorry.
But yes, so
I mean, it is a golf topic. But
tomorrow we were going to have Anthony Moore, state representative. What district is that? 57?
57?
Yeah,
Yep.
say Nick is 59, right? 55.
Yep.
So I went the wrong way with the two. Anyway, I read a little bit of a story about some possibilities of a big time golf resort. If you know anything about like buddies golf trips or golf resorts, Bandon Dunes in Bend, Oregon is world renowned. And then now there's also a place called Sand Valley in Michigan, and Mike Kaiser is the guy that is the architect of all these resorts. And there's a possibility that Boiling Springs, the Woodward area, he might be coming that way, which would be just an incredible boon to the just Northwest Oklahoma in general, Woodward for sure. Because, I mean, these things are, like I said, it's world-renowned destination golf when Mike Kaiser gets involved. And I know he's in Colorado right now. Another one in kind of in East Texas that's coming. And then apparently there's a possibility that Boiling Springs, Woodward area might get the Mike Kaiser touch, which is I mean, I'm telling you, if you don't know, just go kind of Google up Bandon Dunes and how that all started, and the opportunity if it does arise, it's pretty darn cool.
There's a really good article.
Yeah, Anthony was quoted in a lot of that article.
Yeah.
That's why I reached out to him. I don't know exactly how much he can say from the state side of it or what have you, but at least kind of get everybody aware of the possibility that could be coming to Northwest Oklahoma in general, but especially Northwest Oklahoma. It's fascinating topic to me. and I think just
I got a lot of questions about not bad questions, just like how this would work.
Yeah.
You mentioned he designs a lot of golf courses. Well, this one's already there, so what's that mean?
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's
the logistics of it.
If there will be a redesign and adding, I mean, I think that's the deal is incorporate. I mean, they've already changed. If you haven't been to Bowling Springs in say 10 years, you wouldn't even recognize it with all the trees that they pulled out of there. I think when we were up there for the state tournament a couple years ago, the guy that was the superintendent, he's kind of the one that did a lot of this work.
Yeah,
I think he was telling us tens of thousands of trees were removed from the property, and so I don't know how much work would be done to Bowling Springs itself, but from reading the article, Bowling Springs would not be the only course. This would be total design of multiple. And that's just the Mike Kaiser thing is. It's 3 or 4 courses, so there's a lot. It's a pretty awesome possibilities up there for that area in Northwest Oklahoma. So Anthony will be on 9:30 tomorrow, and we'll pick his brain about that. He can tell us what he can. Some of it probably can't, but at least give everybody an idea of what might be coming up there. Today, we do know what's coming up today, and that is Women's College World Series. Semifinal round has been reached, and so basically you've got the Red River schools are in the driver's seat going into today. Oklahoma, this says 12:36. I thought it was 11 o'clock. They must have already backed that back because of rain or something.
I hadn't seen that.
ESPN's got it as 12:36 first pitch for game 1, 1:30 for game 2. That looks really weird. Originally scheduled for 11, right?
Yeah, I'm attempting to find out.
Anyhow, you got OU and Florida coming up today. Oklahoma, it's 11 is what the scheduled time was, but when I look at the ESPN scoreboard, it shows 12:36. Anyhow, OU's just got to beat Florida once to move into the Champ Series. Florida would obviously have to win twice, and then the other two, Texas and Stanford. Texas just has to win once. Stanford have to beat them twice. Start with the negative as far as the Women's College World Series. How shocked? What is it?
As of 11 minutes ago, there is a lightning delay.
Okay.
That was posted by Oklahoma softball on their Twitter. So first pitch is, like you said, 12:36.
Okay, yes. That looked like a weird time. 12:36 for OU and Florida coming up today. How shocked are you with what happened with Oklahoma State? Not only losing both games, but just the utter lack of offense that they were able to muster in Oklahoma City this year.
You heard it in their promo. It's just the offense. If it's not over the fence, then it kind of. The ball's not hit over the fence, it's kind of bogged down, and that was apparent. And maybe that's something we overlooked, where this is the stage that has the best pitching in the collegiate level. And I've always been one that kind of leans on that defense over offense. I know OU's offense has been dynamic during their run, but they've had some really good pitching that's really been a big part of why they've won these titles. So, it's maybe me personally, I think I overlooked that fact, but it is disappointing. I think that's the word I keep going back to. Just disappointing that they come in unable to score a run and go 2-Q and they're done in their own backyard essentially. So, but all that being said, they're not going anywhere. I have a feeling that Gajewski will continue to get them back there. But in the immediate right now, it's very. I wouldn't use the word shock. For me, I would say it's just very disappointing.
Yeah, to be honest with you, this team outside of like Kilfoyle and maybe it was a really young team. And I think that's the one thing that OSU fans kind of take solace in is the fact that, hey, the program is to the level that even in kind of a rebuilding / retooling year, you're in the World Series. Mm-hmm. And in the World Series to the point where it is disappointing that you're not still playing on semifinal Monday. And so as much as it stinks and it hurts, the players and the fans, I think the one thing that that program is right up there near the top as far as the consistency. That's actually 5 straight years they've made the College World Series, save for 2020 when nobody did. And there's only 2. There's only 2 of those that can say that, and they both are right here in this state. And if you're as much as you probably don't want to hear this, OSU fan, but if you're in the same sentence as Oklahoma right now in softball, you're pretty damn good.
Yeah,
it just didn't work out, and it was I'm surprised, disappointed for sure, but really surprised that Oklahoma State wasn't able to really kind of make their mark after winning the series against Texas and Oklahoma in the regular season. It felt to me like this was a little bit different, and it just wasn't. It's kind of the same old song and dance. Once they get to the World Series, the offense lets them down, and that's just kind of the way it's been over the last few years. But looking ahead,
I think a part of that was with them going to Norman, winning that series. Playing what they won the Texas series. Am I right?
I think they swept them.
Yeah. So all of that's why we kind of like this is a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm with you. I was the same way. It's as far as the expectations going in. So that's why I go back, man. I had those expectations, and then that happened. It's a disappointing ending to a really good season.
It's a little bit, I think, reminiscent to me of OU football this year. The expectation wasn't as high as it became. Oklahoma beats Texas in the football field. OSU takes series from Texas and Oklahoma. All of a sudden, those expectations get raised as the thing is going on. And then once you kind of step away from it, you're like, well, they're a little bit ahead of maybe where anybody thought they might be anyhow. So we'll see what happens next year. Florida and Oklahoma, OU's it's so weird because it's like Patty Gasso was prophetic Sunday after OU avoided the Bedlam sweep. Immediately after that game, she said, something's different. Something has happened to this team, and we've figured it out. And Oklahoma hasn't lost since. That's what now, 11 straight wins in the driver's seat here in this bracket. Florida, though.
How many postseasons? There's a streak there in
20
postseason wins.
20?
After Saturday, yeah.
I think it's 20. I think they had 19 straight, and last team to beat them was UCLA, and now it's 20 in a row. If I remember right, seeing the stat pop up. Florida, is it not a testament to what Oklahoma has built and what Oklahoma has become when the SEC Player of the Year is on Florida, and the only reason she's on Florida is because she couldn't get on the field at OU in the position that she wanted? I mean, I'm serious about this. Jocelyn Eric, she was fantastic, but she couldn't catch until next year at OU, so she went to Florida and she's SEC Player of the Year. That just almost says it all about what Patty Gasso's built.
Really does. It really does. I didn't realize that until just now. And then this feels like a heavy mismatch still, with all that being said, for OU. But I never thought about it like that. I totally overlooked that storyline.
It'd be surprising if Oklahoma didn't make it into the final series if Florida beats them twice in a row. But the freshman, freshman pitcher for Florida has been fantastic. Obviously, the shutout of OSU in that first game, Erickson can hit. They've got some people that can really play. Skylar Wallace is one of the best players in softball. But it just, all that being said, it feels like it's going to be Oklahoma, and then can Najee Kennedy go 14-plus innings today to get Stanford past Texas? That seems like a very tall task because the Horns have probably looked like the best team so far in the 2 games they played.
Yeah, but I'll say Stanford will do it because I picked them to get to the finals, so I have to pick them, right? No, Texas has looked like the best team offensively. They looked fantastic against Florida the other day. On Saturday. I want to go back to Saturday with Oklahoma's 1-0 win. That doesn't happen without Kelly Maxwell. I don't know if I've been critical on air. I know I've been critical of her off air, How I thought the big game stage was too much for her. And I wonder if she's turned a corner with that performance that she had on Saturday. Patty kind of alluded to that in the post-game comments. Like, she's kind of had that weight on her shoulders, and maybe she's gotten past that. That was a fantastic performance by her. I can't say enough to her, man. I'm going to eat crow on that one. I was very critical of her, thinking, it's one thing playing in one. We just mentioned the girl from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And going to Florida, maybe change of scenery always could help some kids, but in other terms it could hamper some kids. Like, man, this is just too big for me. This stage is too big for me. The expectations here are much bigger than where they were where I was at, and I was worried about her and how she would approach being on that big stage, just the biggest of big stages in let's face it, softball over everything. So she was just awesome against UCLA, and I hope, as an OU fan personally, hope that continues, and hope that opened her eyes and that just turned a corner for her here in what's left of her career.
Do you think there's any way she doesn't get the ball today in game one?
She better.
I would think so.
I mean, she's on it. She's on a heater, I think.
Well, and you get a day off again. I mean, it's not like you had to play yesterday. I would assume probably so. Part of me thinks, would Patty put in Nicole May just to get her some innings? She hadn't pitched in since the Supers,
and
or the regionals.
6 batters. That was it.
Yeah. So would you get her out there,
yeah,
or maybe kind of wait to see how it goes, and if that opportunity presents itself, maybe she does that before. If Oklahoma gets a pretty sizable lead. Would you put her out there just to get her feet wet, knowing that probably going to need her in the Champ Series at some point? I don't know. We'll see. But I would imagine Maxwell would start because of the way that she's, a little shaky against Duke. But man, UCLA, there was no shakiness
The longer
whatsoever.
that game went on, and I was fortunate we had a big break, so we were able to watch most of it over at Fred's. But the longer that game, even though it was 1-0, and the longer that game went on, I thought, one's enough. She's dialed in, and it just, you do that in games and softball games and baseball games where you just realize a pitcher's just dialed in. Like, they're not going to touch him or her. They're not going to, and they couldn't touch her. And great defense behind her too, obviously.
If one of the two doesn't make the championship series today, who do you think's most likely not to make it?
I think Texas is just I think they're just so much better than Stanford offensively.
I know that's what I think Oklahoma has to be the answer.
I have to say Oklahoma, just because I think the matchups favor Texas way more. And I know I just said Oklahoma should be a heavy favorite over Florida. For the record, I think it's going to be a Red River final. But I think Texas comes out. They have no problem with Stanford. It's a big ask of Stanford to try to take them down twice. Oklahoma, on the other hand, they're going to be fine. But you never know with Florida and an SEC team. You never know. So I just kind of have to give that answer to Oklahoma.
I think that's right too. All right, baseball.
How about Stanford last night? We're talking about their lack of offense. Just their small ball, the way they kept playing, like back-to-back bunts, and just I tip my cap to the coach. She found a way to get runs across the plate.
Yeah, they hit a couple. They hit a couple out of the park against OSU, which was shocking.
Right,
scoring 8 runs there. But then, and here's the deal. What did we say? Canada had lost. Golly, out of the 15 games, she had lost like 9 of them. When the offense only scored 0 or 1. I mean, what it tells you is she is so good that if you can get like 2, you're liable to win.
Yeah.
But they just had so trouble. UCLA had the young pitching. I think I saw, was it the first time since like 1998 that they didn't return somebody to their pitching staff that had Women's College World Series appearances? I mean, that is a fascinating number to think about. And so, they may have been just a little not quite ready, but that's certainly one of those teams that you'd be starting to look for next year with the young pitching like that. But, yeah, I think at the end of the day it's OU Texas coming up on Wednesday, but we shall see today. Also, In the baseball regionals, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State play today. They got there in a couple of different ways. OU loses to UConn. What was that, Saturday night?
Yeah.
4-1. And then they turn around yesterday. They beat Duke, and then they beat UConn last night to force the if necessary game.
They come back in both of them.
Yeah,
Didn't
4-3 against Duke, and then what was it, 6-4 last night. Well, there was at one point there in the 8th inning, it was crazy because
how do you miss that play?
Yeah, Madron hits the.
I kept looking at the
Madron
replay.
hits the double. It was hard. It was impossible. Listen, one thing I will tell you this about the ESPN's coverage. Yes, they've had a ton of it, but a whole bunch of the announcers aren't there. They're off-site. Oh. The camera angles are just awful. I mean, it was like pixelating when they were trying to zoom in. It did it twice. The one when Nicholas was diving back into second, and you couldn't. There's no way you can overturn that. Whatever the officials call or the umpire's call is going to be. You're going to have to stay with it on a lot of those because you just can't tell.
There's not decisive.
But how crazy! It was going to be 7-3 with a runner on second and 2 outs, and then Easton Carmichael coming up, who's been the best hitter that OU's had as far as getting like 90-something hits, and instead wiped the run away. It's only 6-3. Then the pop up, the pitcher and catcher in foul territory just miss it, and then the next pitch, dude hits a home run. You're like. Wow! Instead of 7-3 and a runner on second, it's now 6-4 but Oklahoma is able to hold on and win that one. So they'll play UConn again today. That is a night game, isn't it?
8:00.
Okay, yeah, 8:00, and then at 2:00, Oklahoma State falls to Florida last night 5-2 as the Gators outslugged Nebraska 17-11 early yesterday, and then beat OSU 5-2. And so both teams fighting for their lives today in the baseball regionals. 2:00 up in Stillwater, 8:00 down in Norman. Man, that Schubert dude for OSU, Caglianone, is that how you say it? Jack Caglianone. He's the guy from Florida. It's going to be like a top 5 draft pick.
Oh, yeah, him. Yeah.
Yeah, that dude is awesome.
He's a highlight machine.
Yeah, so is Nolan Schubert, sophomore for OSU. I mean, he just has that look when he's standing in there that he is going to hit a home run. Like that's just what it. I mean, I think he was like 3 of 5 yesterday with just hard hit singles, and they kept him in the park. But he had hit 3 home runs already in that regional going into last night. So, give Florida credit though, man. The reliever came in, Neely last night, and just shut them down. He threw over 100 pitches, like 7 innings. And that happened in the OU game, too. The Lotus guy, Jet Lotus, threw more innings and more pitches and more strikeouts than he had all year long. And that's kind of what you have to see, though, in a lot of these regionals. The ends of the pitching staff and those middle relievers become so important in a lot of these matchups to save guys, to keep your team in it, to be able to score some runs. I really think both teams are going to win today and move on to super regionals. But, UConn is not making it easy on Oklahoma, and obviously Florida, one of those SEC teams that people were kind of questioning how they even got in. Well, once you actually see them play, you're looking around going, they're pretty darn good.
I failed to remember that UConn, until they showed that stat last night, that they were only a year removed from a super regional. Did you just say that? They're not.
Yeah, we're trying to get 2 of 3.
Right, yeah. So it's not like they came in as a lame duck or anything. They play some pretty good ball.
Last note on college stuff, at least on the smaller, the spring sports, 2 All-Americans on the golf course. Ryder Cowan from Oklahoma, true freshman. He was a freshman All-American, was on that team. Then also Trace Hill, NAIA All-American. First time in his 3-year career that he's able to earn those honors. So congratulations to both of those guys. Really, really cool.
And this past weekend, a lot of all-state stuff happening.
Yeah.
Too many to mention, but a lot of kids out here represented.
Yeah, we were up there for the K101 Bowl or whatever, the Classic Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
That was going on Saturday.
Yeah.
Hey, coming up a week from Thursday. This will be June the 13th, right here at Ackley Park. A free event. It's Pickin' in the Park at 8:00. Local talent all over the place. Cody Brewer, Cooper Twyman, JC Aquarius, and Caroline Grace. Ackley Park, 6/13, which is June 13th, a week from Thursday, 8:00. free concert, Pickin' in the Park, sponsored by KECO. Also, a bunch of different sponsors putting that on as well. And a big thank you to our friends at Rother Brothers, Mike Bayberry and the gang over at Rother Brothers. It's a family-owned dealership that started by 3 owners in Kingfisher back in 1976. It's still family-owned, but it's got 3 different locations spreading out and covering all of western Oklahoma, including Clinton, Fairview, and Kingfisher. Rother Brothers prides themselves creating a one-stop shop for all sorts of equipment, parts, repair services for many makes and models. Rother Brothers north of Clinton on Highway 183. Give them a call at 580-323-1981. Well, Jared, as the spring sports start to dwindle down in college football or college athletics, it's hard not to start to kind of peek ahead a little bit at what's coming up in the fall in college football. And about this time of year, you always get the way too early rankings after the bowl games. Then you might get one after spring ball, like an updated post-spring. And then when you start, it's summertime, when you start seeing some of these, Phil Steele's magazine will come out, and then a lot of these projections on ESPN, and now they've had time to kind of figure out who all went where, transfer portal-wise, high school recruiting-wise, who's still there, this is kind of the point where, okay, we kind of know who's going to be on the team. And so now you start to see these computer projections, and the FPI, which is the Football Power Index that ESPN's created, has been released. And it's always very interesting to me the differences you notice when, and you could maybe even say computer bias versus human bias, right? And it's when you look the top 15, actually the top 20. Let me scroll down a little bit further to get to the top 20. There's a massive difference in a few teams between what the FPI calls for and what the humans and how the humans rank some of these teams.
Kind of reminds you of the BCS.
A little bit. There's kind of some of that to it. And there's no team that gets more respect from the FPI versus the humans than the Oklahoma Sooners. And a lot of the human polls, you see them, 15 or lower?
Yeah, around there.
15 to 20, maybe even in the 20s somewhere. FPI has Oklahoma number 8, which amongst the SEC crowd is 4th. A lot of these SEC rankings have Oklahoma 8th in the conference, much less the country. A couple of teams that one is drastically lower in the FPI than what you see in the computer. They're lower in the FPI than what you see in the human poll is Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a staple in the top 10 in any human poll. They're all the way down at 16 in the FPI. It kind of tells you how they come to these the number that they spit out with how they do it. But that surprised me when I opened this up and saw OU inside the top 10, and especially seeing them ahead of 2 teams that no one thinks it, with Missouri and with Ole Miss.
So, is there a write-up on this? The question for me is why?
It's a power. Okay, here it says the FPI is a power rating that tracks each team's strength relative to an average FBS squad. Teams are rated on offense, defense, and special teams, with values representing points per game. So when you look at Georgia's FPI is 26.8, so basically 27. What that's telling you is Georgia is 27 points better than an average college football team. Oklahoma number is 17.2. So that's saying OU is 17 points better than an average college football team according to the way they rank this. They rank it, like I said, offense, defense, and special teams comprise how you get to that 17.2. Doesn't surprise me defensively that Oklahoma's decently high.
So that's immediately where I went to. Defensively, they have a lot returning. It's Brent Venables. There was an anonymous coach. I want to quote this properly. I don't know who put it out there. they'll do that. They'll interview coaches, and they won't give their name. Like, hey, what do you think of this team? And one coach said, that defense is starting to look like a Brent Venables defense like when he was at Clemson, which was pretty dang good, national title winning defenses. And so that's immediately where I went to. It's like, well, maybe the defense is carrying a lot of weight with this particular poll.
So amongst the top 20, OU's the 7th best defense according to the FPI. Offense, it's been a long time since you've seen an FPI at OU with the defense better than the offense, but it is right now. Of that top 20, OU is only ranked higher than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they'd be 13th of the top 20 on offense. And you put those together, and that's kind of how that spits out. Yeah, question, how much is past performance weighted? I mean, it's got to be there somehow. But it doesn't necessarily break down how they get to the ratings. And I would tell you, just guessing, that returning production doesn't carry as much weight as some of the others. And the reason I say that is because almost nobody in the country returns more production than Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State is 26th in this ranking. And they return like 80-something% of production on offense and defense and special. I mean, they return everybody off a team that played for a conference title in a conference that lost their 2 bell cow programs. I am shocked. I am honestly shocked at the lack of respect almost for Oklahoma State, considering everything they return, and also that Oklahoma and Texas left the conference.
Right, the makeup of the conference is totally different. That's a little shocking, but I think Gundy and company they don't care. They like that. They perform well when they are under the radar and undervalued, as this poll is saying they are. So it's kind of hard to, I don't know, these preseason polls. But that FPI one. Now, here's a question, though. We see this now. How accurate is it? Does that make sense? Like at the end of the year, like, well, how close was it to how it actually ended up? I wonder if there's a statistic out there for that. Like,
I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see if I can find a 2023.
A final 23 FPI poll to compare it to what we got. That'd be, that'd be a lot telling. And the question on the text line about how much is past performance last year's, team weigh into this, that's almost unfair. I'm not ripping the texter here, but because of, it's easy to do that in the past, pre-portal age, because a lot of the same players could be returning. But there's so much, and you kind of touched on that. It's so different. The teams are almost completely different outside of maybe a few skill pieces.
Yeah, except for OSU.
You're right.
I mean, they're almost. Some of it is some of it. So here's the final FPI. Number 1, Michigan. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 4, Oregon. Now, this is the one that's pretty wonky, but number 5, Penn State. Number 6, Alabama. Number 7, Texas.
This final, like, after the season?
Yes. So, Washington was down.
Yeah, where's Washington?
Let's see. They were down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. But here's something else. Guess who was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
Alabama.
Oklahoma. FPI likes OU. Computers always liked OU. That's why they always got the benefit of the doubt in the BCS.
I've always said that, and this FPI poll, I've seen that be a thing too.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they got the number 1 team right, and a lot of people wouldn't have thought that going into the playoff or right before the playoff. Georgia was the team that, didn't perform as well as a lot of people saw. It's hit or miss. It obviously likes certain things about, Oregon. It loves Oregon again this year. It's got Oregon in number 2, which I think there's a lot to like about Oregon, if we're being honest. Are we sure they didn't upgrade at quarterback? With Gabriel over Bo Nix?
Yeah,
maybe. So it's got Georgia 1, Oregon 2, Texas 3, Ohio State 4, Alabama 5, Penn State 6. I'm not falling for Penn State. Notre Dame 7, OU 8, Tennessee 9, Missouri 10.
A lot of people are saying what you just said about Penn State about OU too.
Well, no, listen.
Outside of the state, right? Going, I'm not falling for that again.
No,
I don't believe that.
I don't. I'll believe Oklahoma's the 8th best team in the country when I see it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sitting here also doom and gloom like you're going to hear between now and the start of the season about how 6-6 is expected. And that's not. I mean, no offense to anybody else, but to hear somebody say 8-4 is a great season, no, it's not. 8-4 is very average, in my mind, and I don't care how hard the schedule is. To me, 8-4 is very average for Oklahoma. Penn State, yeah, everybody's Penn State overrated. Penn State does the same thing every year.
Yeah.
They beat everybody not named Ohio State and Michigan, and might lose one more each and every season. Is there anybody?
They'll have a big night game. They'll white it out for either Ohio State or Michigan and then lose it.
I wonder what their schedule. Let's see what their schedule is. Do they still play both? The answer is no.
I don't think they do. I looked at that earlier.
They do not. So they go at West Virginia. In the conference, they go to USC, to Wisconsin back-to-back. Actually, golly, 3-game stretch at Wisconsin, home against Ohio State, home against Washington. But all in all, considering what they could have, it's not the worst Big Ten schedule out there. Not the hardest for sure. But still, Penn State will lose 2 or 3.
You know who they're going to fall behind?
Who?
We say it's Ohio State, Michigan, or Michigan, Ohio State, top 2. It's always been like that in the Big Ten. And then it's Penn State, and then Wisconsin.
Well, Oregon's there.
Oregon's now involved. I think they'll even fall behind USC.
Maybe.
Over time.
USC is an interesting team to me this season.
I'm not saying this season they will, although they do play there. But
it's an interesting game. An interesting team to me is USC because I don't think that Lincoln Riley has become just an idiot overnight. And we'll see if the change defensively actually works. Get rid of Grinch.
I'm just curious who's gonna throw the football for him.
Miller Moss, 6 touchdowns in the bowl game.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying.
Miller Moss, Caleb Williams.
Well,
That's a big. I know Caleb Williams big shoes to fill. This is like the first real time. Think about this. The first time Lincoln Riley. It just seems like okay. There's always been a quarterback. Even now it was Baker Mayfield. Who's next? Oh, we got this Kyler Murray guy. Oh, Jalen Hurts is coming over here.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler year was the question.
Spencer Rattler was questionable, but at the time he was a highly recruited kid and all that stuff. Of course, Caleb Williams. And it was going to be, Malachi
Nelson.
Well, he's moved on. So now we got this guy. So I don't know what he was recruited at.
That's what I'm fixing to tell you.
I figured you're looking that up.
15th best quarterback back in 20. What year is this? His high school eval, or remind you of, was Drew Brees. So, 112th. Now, there it is, class of 2021. So he's an older guy. He's 22 years old.
Been in the system for a minute.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't like the number one quarterback in the class like we got accustomed here to Riley being able to land about year after year or every couple years.
He comps to who?
Drew Brees is
Drew
what
Brees?
I saw. Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember at a time there was a lot of people said Baker Mayfield looked like Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is a guy in the same Baker Mayfield mold that Lincoln Riley sees.
The rest of the team needs to be better around him.
Oh, of course.
I think we saw that at OU the year after Riley left, how much Caleb Williams made up for deficiencies here. And I think the same could be said out there. Last year it kind of finally caught up to him that if he wasn't absolute Superman every single time out, they had a hard time winning games. Is there anybody that you think is just extremely too high in the FPI?
Besides OU?
Yeah.
Tell me the top 10 again. I don't have it in front of me.
Georgia, Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Missouri.
Oh, Penn State.
Penn State and OU, I think.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's interesting.
I like Alabama. I know people are going to some would say Alabama because of the new head coach and the turnover and
losses
everything, all that. But you know me, my stance on Alabama. They're still Alabama.
I think Notre Dame is interesting because they were kind of the exact same way last year with an ACC transfer coming in at quarterback with Sam Hartman. That didn't work as well as what we thought it might. Now this year Riley Leonard comes from Duke. That Notre Dame is one of those I think people are going to most people probably pick to make the playoff. And I'll probably be one of them.
Yeah.
Because of that experience at quarterback that they're going to have with the transfer portal. Anybody just drastically too low?
Well, besides Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State 26 is too low. And to me, Ole Miss at 16 is too low.
Yeah, I agree there.
I think Ole Miss is a top 10 team.
I'm at the mercy of a slow computer. I'm trying to catch up with you.
I think Ole Miss is good. Matter of fact, to me, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Missouri being ahead of Ole Miss is not right going into the season.
Does it feel like LSU at 14 feels low?
I don't, and not until I see. I think.
I know they're replacing quarterback.
Yeah, they're replacing the Heisman Trophy winner. And oh, by the way, that defense was historically bad at LSU last year.
Yeah.
So how many more losses do they have if Jaden Daniels isn't Houdini? No offense to the next guy.
But part of me still feels like they're better than Clemson, Michigan, and Missouri.
Missouri's interesting. Missouri was really good last year. They lost Schrader, the running back. Clemson and A&M ahead of Ole Miss, no thanks. Honestly, LSU ahead of Ole Miss, no thanks. I think Ole Miss is the third best team going in the conference. Maybe even second in the SEC. Matter of fact, I think I might put Ole Miss second behind Georgia going into it. With what they got coming back with Dart. And then, man, they cleaned up in the portal. Especially on defense. Thanks, A&M. Wrapping up a Monday edition of the show. By the way, Oklahoma, Florida, 12:30 is the start time. Been pushed back for the softball.
Man, looking at the radar, I think they'll be lucky to hit that.
So, let's say it starts at 2. You know what you ought to do? Late lunch, Boomtown Grill, Sooner softball, Cowboy baseball.
That's a win-win.
Boomtown Grill, 2103 South Main, right here in Elk City. And guess what? If you get there at 2, happy hour starts, 2 to 6, Monday through Friday, 12 big screen TVs, appetizers, and drink specials. They've got all the different foods. Burgers, sandwiches, wraps, pizzas, pastas, steaks, chicken, seafood. They have it all at the Boomtown Grill. Open 7 days a week, 11 to 10, Sunday through Thursday, 11 to 11 on Friday and Saturday. 2103 South Main at the Boomtown Grill. All right, both the NHL and the NBA finals are set. I had a question last night. Rusty, if you're listening, I missed the text. He asked, why is the NBA starting on Thursday when the series had been over forever? A, they were short series, and B, they've always kind of set a date
and stick with it
and stuck with it. And a lot of,
they don't move it around.
I think a lot of it used to be more because of TV and media. needing to make plans, and quite frankly, back when it started to get big, a lot, it was LA and Boston, right? And so you had to have the time to fly across the country or what have you. Things are different now. It's easier to get to places, but I think that's part of it. To have a set schedule for TV, to know when the games are, what day they're going to be, what time they're going to be. And I think that's a big part of it is TV driven. It seems silly because it almost feels like, the NBA is so out of sight, out of mind right now because it's been so long since we've seen a game. Yeah. But it always is the Thursday before oil and gas. It seems like game one is that every single year, that there's not like a lockout or something. What's your favorite storyline in either of these series, the NHL or the NBA?
We touched on the Connor McDavid thing in Edmonton, and just the whole storyline, how that is such a, Wayne Gretzky put Edmonton on the map, and when you think Edmonton, you think of the Oilers, you think Wayne Gretzky, and now you're starting to think about Connor McDavid. So that storyline of him chasing his first cup is pretty cool for me. On the other side, the whole Kyrie and Boston thing. Luka, if he can continue to play well and somehow win this series, there's your Finals MVP, I would say. But can Boston finish off an incredible season? They've had this great season, maybe not to the level of what Golden State would do, and no one has ever mentioning them in the same breath. But they've been pretty dang good all season long. So the pressure there to cap it off with a title is there in Beantown, where they're Celtics and winning titles. They really, really want to return one back there. So. Just the whole matchup there between Mavs and Boston is intriguing to me. So some storylines I'm keeping an eye on. I'm actually a little bit more interested in the NHL thing than the Stanley Cup Finals. I'll be watching both, but this one seems like it could be fun.
It's always cooler in the NHL when there's a Canadian team.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And especially when it's Edmonton. And it's because of Gretzky.
Yeah.
For guys our age, or younger, a little older, whatever, because of how captivating he was. Do you know the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup?
No.
Ironically, it was against Wayne Gretzky and the LA Kings. It was Montreal, the Montreal Canadiens, back in 1993. That is fascinating.
That is crazy.
I knew it had been a long time, but I did not realize it had been that long. 1993, Patrick Waugh was the goalie for the Canadiens that beat Wayne Gretzky and the LA Kings.
I've always found it fascinating that recently the Stanley Cup participants and champs have been like Western or Southern.
It's like the 6 out of 7 years that a Florida team is in the finals.
There's that. Vegas, they went last year, didn't they?
Vegas beat Florida last year, right?
Florida, yeah. Colorado, that's an American team. Tampa Bay was on a run.
Tampa went 3 straight. Florida's now back-to-back.
I'm looking at a list here. St. Louis. Washington. We're getting a little north there.
No, you're right, though. It's become kind of a Southern game.
It's cool. I like that, and I really hope Salt Lake City grasps onto it now that they've moved them out of Phoenix to Salt Lake City. I know that's further north, but... Yeah. But it's cool when you see, like, Tampa. You wouldn't think hockey would work in Tampa Bay. It clearly is. Clearly it's working. Where's Florida Panthers? I know Vaz says Orlando. Where are they at? Jackson? Where are they at?
I would guess Orlando.
I have no idea where they're at. But it's neat when you see these southern states that are used to, football, SEC country.
Miami.
Florida's in Miami. You can't get any more southern than that.
Mm-mm.
That's awesome. That's neat to see hockey as gravitated down southern that way. They're like this.
It really kind of started with Dallas.
Yeah.
From the North Stars to to Dallas, and then eventually then you had Florida, then you had Tampa, and then Nashville, Phoenix. All those teams kind of started becoming a thing. Yeah, Connor McDavid is really. This is a chance for the NHL, and when is their game 1?
Saturday.
So it's clear past the. It goes clear past the NBA before it starts.
I was thinking, do they have those dates set?
It's got to be the same thing.
Have to have the date set. That's when I'm sure it is. You'll see them the promo Stanley Cup starting during the playoffs.
Absolutely. And it's you never know how long the series is going to go before, and so you're probably trying to give 2 or 3 days off to both teams anyways before that would start. Just so happens that once again, those series went 6. So you were looking at tonight and tomorrow night finishing them up in 7. So they were going to give 3 or 4 days to get rested and get all the media and stuff moving around.
And both ESPN, ABC, whatever, both broadcast them.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be scheduling there where they're not conflicting, is what I'm saying.
If you're looking for the biggest star of the NHL playoffs, Google up Edmonton fan.
That's all you got to do.
Edmonton fan. She has become the star of the NHL playoffs, and the reason I'm rooting for the Edmonton Oilers.
I don't know if I was offended or flattered. I had like 4 people send me that. Like, is that what you think of? Hey, Jared would like this. Send it to him.
Any red-blooded American male will like that. Send it to him.
Oh, goodness.
God bless Canada.
Oh, Canada.
She is now the star of the NHL playoffs. And for good reason, by the way.
Someone said, you can't tell me Oilers make the Stanley Cup playoffs or finals without this woman. There's just a picture of her.
Oh, I know. She's like the mascot now.
Yeah.
Everybody have a great Monday.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.